Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. We are back with another installment of Taking It Back. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm with my good friend Zach Payne of Red Pill 78. What's up? What's going on, Zach? How are you today?
Just chilling like a villain, I guess, every day. Continue, just trudge along.
Trudging along. I hear you. Frankie, I think, is out today. His daughter is still sick or under the weather. He texted me today saying that they thought they had turned a corner and she started throwing up again today. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but those of you guys out there want to send some prayers his way. We appreciate that. And he might pop in, he might not. I don't know. But for now, it's just going to be Zach and I. Hanging out with you guys for the next hour. Zach, how was your apocalypse day this week? Did you enjoy the eclipse? Did you go out and look at it? Did it affect where you were all that
Uh,
much?
so we were supposed to be able to see something. Lisa and I tried. We couldn't tell any difference. And I tried using my phone to get video of it. I couldn't see anything. So now really no big deal. Nothing to speak of. No zombies in the streets. Nobody turning to piles of ash, nobody floating up to heaven, nothing like that.
No rapture. Have you noticed any tears in the space-time continuum? I know CERN restarted their particle accelerator on that day as well. What's your take
No.
on that, by the way? Do you have like I've heard so many theories about what that is and what that does, and I don't know. Do you have any theories on CERN and that whole situation?
I mean, I think it's possible and maybe even likely that they are trying to open up a door, a pathway of communication, some tear through that space-time continuum into another dimension, perhaps. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, I'm sure you're aware of Jack Parsons and the origination of NASA and Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He and what was it? L. Ron Hubbard. They were basically working to summon a demon. And apparently, many years ago, they opened up a doorway to another darker dimension. And then, very shortly after that, Jack Parsons was killed in some sort of an explosion. And allegedly, that door was never closed again. So it seems like there is a lot of strange stuff that happens down there at CERN. I mean, obviously the mock human sacrifice that they did. I don't know how you can laugh that off. I mean, I don't. Me and my friends, we don't get together and do mock human sacrifices. I mean, I don't know anybody
Well,
who does. No, no,
what the hell
no.
are you doing on
At least
Saturday
not
night?
many years. I don't know anybody who does stuff like that. So, I mean, for what purpose would they be doing that? So, and it seems like an odd day. It's an auspicious time to restart CERN again. So, were they trying to harness some sort of cosmic energy? That makes sense to me if they were doing that. But nothing noticeable happened, and I definitely wasn't anticipating getting swallowed up by a black hole or anything.
Do you think they picked that day like just to get people talking, like a troll of communities like ours? Like, we're gonna restart this. We're ready to, and they kind of isolate that day, knowing it'll get people, the conspiracy theorists, going a little bit.
I think that there is definitely like energy that could be harvested in a sense. So I think that they chose that day probably knowing that it would tip people off and that we would be talking about it and trying to figure out what was going on. But I also believe that they definitely, if there was energy to be harvested or to be used in a particular way, then I would think that would totally be a day where it could happen. I mean, certainly it's a unique time. I mean, when you look at what these people believe, the things that they do, and the way they schedule it. I mean, certainly they do schedule things surrounding like celestial events and such. So, yeah, I think that there is something to it for sure. But I don't think that we necessarily have an understanding of exactly why or how that might help them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that there's definitely potential energy, sorry, that could be harnessed during those things. I think there's a lot about this reality that we don't quite understand. I think there's a lot of occult knowledge out there.
Oh yeah.
Um, I don't know what it all adds up to, but I hear you there. Also, we lost OJ Simpson today.
Yeah. Rest in peace, OJ.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know what else to say about I don't know what else to say about that, but I felt like I should mention it because my Twitter feed is 2/3 OJ tweets. So anyway,
Well, I don't know what we're going to do without OJ on Twitter now. I mean, half the fun of being on Twitter was OJ being able to interact with him, but he was like a rabid anti-Trumper. So, unfortunately for OJ, he will never see the return of the ascendancy of the Trump empire. He won't see America get set right, and I guess that's fine.
yeah, I'm okay with it
Mhm.
also. All right, let's get into some more relevant stuff here. I want to start with this video. I don't know if you saw it. I'm sure you did. You had this FBI, a former CIA officer, FBI, boasting about entrapping people. Basically, did you see this at all?
Mm. Is this the part one or part two? I saw part one. I haven't seen
This
part
is
two yet.
this was part one. I didn't know the
Okay.
part two had come out yet.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not certain it has. I just know that they had mentioned in the tweet or something that this was the first installment. But oh yeah, I definitely saw it, and I think it's highly notable. What's interesting is that I mean it's not surprising information. I would say that what this guy admitted is what we've all suspected all along, and it's the exact sort of behavior that you would expect to come along with a government bureaucracy with unlimited power and unlimited oversight. So and plus, I will say that this guy thought he was going to get laid. All right. So he really had no reason to lie. I mean, he was trying to impress. Now, why would he come up with this stuff on his own? If all it would take in Washington D.C. is to just pretend to be an anti-Trumper or to tell someone that you are an anti-Trumper. I mean, I would think that would be enough common ground. He admitted some things that are potentially illegal, and I don't know about you guys, but when I went on dates, I definitely wasn't bragging about breaking the law, and I never thought that anybody would think that was sexy. So, he definitely admitted some things that I think were 100% accurate, and he did it because he thought he was in private. He thought the mask comes off when you think nobody else is listening, and you're going to get lucky.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, he talked about entrapping people. He says, well, we stop short of that. We call it a nudge, giving
Mm.
people a nudge. And what immediately came to mind there, Zach, was the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping case,
Oh
where I
yes.
think it was 18 people involved. Turns out 12 of them were feds trying to get people to um, essentially break the law, encouraging people to break the law so they could arrest them, create a narrative for the media, which was interesting. They talked about Alex Jones, talking
Hmm.
about how they encouraged people to sue and take up a civil case to, cut off his legs, as he said, take his money. He talked about undercover agents in the crowd at January 6th. Now, he did say that they weren't necessarily breaking the law, which who knows, but admitting that they had at least 20 or so undercover, and talking about how they use fake social media to rile people up and get a reaction. So it was pretty revealing, and like you said, it's nothing that we didn't already kind of know at this point, but to hear it coming straight from someone on the inside uh, is quite interesting.
Yeah. And, the one thing that I was hoping was that people within government with oversight power would see that report and would act on it. And Mike Lee actually did tweet about it. And so I think that bodes well for a check and balance that is sorely needed on the intelligence community, on both the FBI and the CIA. Also very interesting at the end when he admitted that he knew FBI agents who were in the crowd on January 6th, and he knows because they're now working at the CIA. So it sounds like they got a they took a step up that corporate ladder, essentially.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The sharing of personnel between the two agencies.
Hmm.
Um, how connected are they? Do you think are they even that decipherable from each other anymore? Do you think they've completely kind of merged together, one just giant spying operation for the entire world at this point? Because it seems like it's getting harder and harder to find space between them.
Yeah, I mean, they've pretty much achieved that full Vulcan mind meld scenario. I mean, the CIA is not supposed to operate in the United States. We know that they do. The FBI is only supposed to operate in the United States, and we know that they don't. So, you've got you've got a fairly close working relationship, it would seem. And when there's overlap that needs to be done, then they'll go ahead and do it. Obviously, with him being a former FBI agent and now being I think he called himself a lifetime CIA contract officer, he's clearly still in contact with people in the FBI. So if there is something that needs to be done that is skirting the edges of what's legal, then he can just pick up a phone and have his friends at this sister agency go ahead and take care of it. And if the FBI needs somebody to achieve something that is, global in scale, then they can just reach out to them. Of course, they have their own law enforcement contacts in other countries as well. But, you think back to Crossfire Hurricane, the efforts to take down President Trump. I mean, CIA and the FBI seem to be working hand in glove on that one too. I mean, a whole host of different federal agencies. So yeah, I really only see a difference in terms of their titles and where their paychecks are coming from, because they're all part of the same deep state bureaucracy. They're all part of the same organization at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that kind of leads into another topic. There's this whole debate right now in Washington, D.C. about how or if to extend the FISA program, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. We know it's been used and abused at this point. They've been using it's supposed to be um, to surveil foreign nationals,
Hmm.
right? And it was never meant to use to be spy on American citizens. Yet they keep getting caught up in their little dragnet of surveillance. It expires, I believe,
The
in
19th.
the 19th. Okay, thank you. It
Yep.
expires on the 19th, so it's coming up quickly, and they're trying to make reforms to it in the House. And one of the things that they want is a warrant process to make sure that if you're going to spy on an American citizen, you have to obtain a warrant. And there was a few other things as well. But it made it out of committee, went to the floor and failed. And you had a lot of people that I would consider America First patriots, people like Matt Gaetz and Andy Biggs and um, I'm drawing like Anna Paula Luna and Lauren Boebert and a few others, all voting against it. But what's interesting is you had 19 Republicans, mostly America First Republicans, voting against this, joining the entire Democrat Party.
Hmm.
It's always a weird dynamic when you have the furthest on the right, joining the Democrats on something against the rest of the Republican Party. So I'm very perplexed by this because I understand the need for some kind of surveillance system, especially with a wide open border. We have God knows who coming through here. We're as vulnerable to something terrible happening as we ever have been in this country. Yet at the same time, we have a Fourth Amendment. We have civil liberties. The right to privacy is a big one that's been largely stomped on and taken away. So like I get torn as to where these things should begin and end. But what do you make of these Republicans joining the Democrats? Why are the Democrats voting against this? Why are the Republicans voting against this? Do they have the same concerns? Is it different motivations? It just the whole dynamic of this thing has me kind of spinning a little bit, Zach.
So I think there are similar concerns, but for different reasons. So the Republicans, from my perspective, that are voting against it are voting against FISA in its current incarnation, which was used to spy on President Trump and the people in his campaign.
Right.
I think that FISA it must have been a tool that was used for good throughout the years to go after bad people in foreign countries. And the Democrats are the ones who used FISA against Trump. So that is interesting that it's the Democrats largely that want to, they want to stop FISA from coming back. I think the only reason that they're voting against it is because they don't want FISA to be in place at all if Donald Trump comes back in, because, the old adage, FISA goes both ways. So it could be used to catch them doing things. Who's to say that it hasn't already?
Mhm.
And there is a lot of evidence coming out about many of these people and their connections to foreign powers and their deal making behind the scenes and their efforts to enrich themselves and to use the power of the government to go after people like us. So you have Democrats who are worried about what might happen if FISA comes back, if it's reauthorized, rather, I should say, in its current incarnation. You have a select group of Republicans who are worried about FISA being reauthorized in its current incarnation and then being used against them and the American people. And then you've got Republicans who are just probably owned and operated on behalf of the intelligence community. And they don't mind. Okay. They don't mind that Trump got spied on. They don't mind if the American people get spied on. They don't mind as long as FISA is allowed to maintain in its current incarnation. I think that it would not take that much to simply put some safeguards in FISA. I mean, they already did. They tried to put a safeguard in for themselves. So, like, if the FBI is going to spy on Congress, well, then the FBI director has to come down and say, hey, guess what? You popped up in this investigation and we're going to be listening to you. So, but it's not supposed to be used for Americans. I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be that difficult to put those safeguards in there to ensure that it can't be used against Americans without a warrant that would allow our rights to be protected. And so, it's not a black and white issue. And I think a lot of people are looking at it as such. I mean, there are people who are like, we need FISA. We just got to keep FISA, just go ahead and ram it back through. In its current incarnation, it was used for horrible abuses. And we learned just a couple of months ago that the FBI was using it like to look themselves up, to spy on their girlfriends, I mean, just to look at average everyday citizens. I mean, we're talking about millions of illegal abuses of FISA, and absolutely nobody has been held accountable. So I personally am of the opinion that if they're unable to come up with a usage for FISA that does not violate our civil liberties, then it shouldn't be used at all. But as we've seen in past, I mean, the government is more than capable of putting a bill together that meets both sides of the aisle when they want to go ahead and do it. I am perfectly fine if they're unable to reauthorize FISA, but although I'm happy and I think it's a win that they were able to block it at this point, I think that they're going to probably be working overtime on this because there's going to be a lot of pressure from the intelligence community to get them to reauthorize it, because it's going to be very useful to a lot of people going into this last stretch of the 2024 presidential season. And undoubtedly, there's also probably going to be a lot of foreign adversaries that are looking to capitalize on the low moral and ethical foundation that many of these people in Washington, D.C. Operate on a daily basis. So it should be fixed. I mean, I'm 100%. It should be fixed. They should not allow it to move on in its current form. And if they're not willing to do that, then I think that nobody's going to die if FISA isn't reauthorized before President Trump comes back to office.
So here's my crazy conspiracy brain,
Mhm.
Zach. I feel like the Democrats want to block this, and for completely different reasons than the Republicans.
Yeah.
I I think that unfortunately they want to block it to leave us vulnerable, or the perception of us being vulnerable,
Oh, yeah.
have some terrible thing happen in this country, and then boom, all of a sudden they have their scapegoat, right? Like, we could have prevented this had we had FISA, and then all of a sudden people start clamoring to bring it back in its full force. Right now, it's very politically unpopular. I think both sides of the aisle in this country don't want it. I think for maybe slightly different reasons, but I think that for the most part, it's a loser politically. But if there were to be some kind of major false flag, then all of a sudden you'd have a lot of people clamoring for it because they would feel like it keeps them safe. Spy on me all you want, just make sure you don't let anything like this happen again, right? So I feel like that's what we're being set up for right now. They're gonna not be able to get it done, and then within a few months, you're gonna have some horrible event, and this is going to be the moment they point back to, and they're going to tell everybody that this could have been prevented had Congress renewed FISA. They'll blame Mike Johnson. They'll blame the Republican Party, and then you'll see both sides of the aisle, the rhinos and the Democrats, wholeheartedly getting behind a new FISA authorization, one that probably won't ever expire, and that'll be that. That's kind of how I see this playing out, unfortunately.
I think that's a very astute prediction. That could totally be the case. But yes, if they can use it in that way, then they think they probably will. But I also think that it would be clearly totally bullshit, because if we're talking about terrorists that are already here, then they wouldn't need FISA to listen to them committing crimes here in the United States. But yes, I think you're right that could totally be a possible scenario that they could use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick minute and take care of our first couple of sponsors. Our first one today is our friends at Goldco. Are you concerned about the $6 trillion at stake in the upcoming 2024 election? The Wall Street Journal has reported a critical issue, the looming decision on extending tax cuts scheduled to expire after 2025. Republicans advocate for extending Trump's tax cuts, while the Democrats lean towards letting them expire and increasing taxes on top earners and corporations, potentially creating a massive $6 trillion gap. But fear not, there's a way to protect yourself from this impending threat. Join the thousands of hardworking Americans who are taking proactive steps to safeguard their savings. Visit badlandsgold.com to claim your free 2024 gold and silver kit and fortify everything you've worked for. You may even qualify for up to 10% back in bonus silver. But hurry, supplies are limited. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Act now to diversify and shield your savings against the uncertainties ahead. Get your free 2024 gold and silver kit today at badlandsgold.com and take control of your financial destiny. And then we also have a quick message from MyPillow.
I'm excited to announce we're having a huge MyPillow spring sale, and here's a few examples. Buy one of our MyPillow 2.0s, you get another MyPillow 2.0 absolutely free. Made with cooling technology, the best pillow ever just got even better. And this just in, 9 brand new colors and styles of our Percale bed sheets. They're made with the finest long staple cotton, and now you can save 50% or more. That's as low as $24.98. And for the first time this year, I'm bringing you our My Slippers and Sandals for as low as $25 a pair. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your MyPillow 2.0s. Buy one, get one free. Percale sheets as low as $24.98. My Slippers and Sandals as low as $25 a pair. And for a limited time, when you order $75 or more, your entire order ships absolutely free.
All right, we are back. Thank you guys so much for supporting the sponsors. Also, if you guys are watching on pill.net, be sure to repost the show, hit that red pill button, share the link. Those of you guys on Rumble, especially those of you guys watching on Badlands Media, make sure you hit that thumbs up button for us. That's really important. That lets them know how many people are interacting and engaging the show. And we really appreciate you guys doing that. Also share that link as well. All right, let's get into this other big story this week. I don't know the big story so much as it was just an announcement from President Trump. Something that I'm really, really glad he did, because I always thought that he kind of misplayed this issue leading up to this point, the abortion issue. Previously, he had discussed, a certain number of weeks for some kind of national abortion ban. I always thought that was a major mistake. It's not constitutional for the federal government to dictate anything like that to the states, even if it is in favor of pro-life or pro-choice, whatever side you're on. The fact of the matter is, it's supposed to be a state issue,
Mhm.
and to have any kind of federal law would fly in the face of the ruling to overturn Roe versus Wade. So he came out this week and basically said that he's not touching it. He's going to allow each state to decide for themselves. I think it's perfect, the perfect answer. It takes all of the heat and I think enthusiasm out of the sails of the Democrats on this issue, especially when it comes to like the federal elections. And really just allows each state to do their own thing. I think it's the perfect way to handle it, and I was really happy to see it. What were your thoughts on President Trump's announcements, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, he really hasn't changed his stance in any way. All he did was reiterate it. I know it's a little reductionist when people hear boil this down to a states' rights issue, and I understand how that would anger people, but we have to work within the framework of the legal system that we have set up. I mean, it is as framed currently an issue for the states to go ahead and take care of. I mean, that was what the removal of Roe versus Wade was all about. And if we want it to be an issue that is mandated at the federal level, then I think that we have to define at what point the promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is applied to people. You know, when do you officially become a person? And perhaps within the Constitution, they could mandate that conception is that moment. But they haven't done that yet. They can do that in every single state. I don't think it's likely that it'll happen in every single state, but it can begin in one state and spread out from there. I also think that it was brilliant tactically and politically because the mainstream media and the left have been saying that Donald Trump is going to, he's going to do an executive order banning all abortions. Okay. And all he did was come out and just, the same way that he did before. This is how I feel. Nothing's changed. And let's just move on. So it did take the wind out of their sails. And, even though people don't like it, it also is something that appeals to moderates. I mean, people who don't have the same sanctity for life as we may. They want to know that somebody isn't going to come in there and do something drastic because that's what they've been told he was going to do. I also think that if President Trump had come out and said, I obviously said, we believe in life. Okay, we want life to exist. But if he would have come out and said, as soon as I'm elected, I'm going to pass an executive order outlawing abortion for all of these reasons in every single state, then what do you think the chances are Joe Biden would have done a preemptive executive action, making abortion legal up until the moment of birth in every single state? And then how many babies would die in the meantime? And, and President Trump would be responsible for that because he's the one who came out like a loudmouth and told everybody exactly what he was going to do. That's why when you hear things in politics, it doesn't mean that that's the last word on it. And it doesn't mean that the words that are being spoken are necessarily what's truly in that person's heart. This is a game of moves and counter moves. Okay. We're talking about tactical maneuvers. And you can't just come out and say, hey, guys, guess what? Here's my spot so you can blow it up. It's like giving a map of your bunker to the opposing army and then saying, everything will probably be fine. I mean, no, they're going to blow your shit up. Okay. They're going to do everything they can to stop you. So President Trump, all he did was reiterate what he had said previously. And I think that we have a long ways to go before we get to the point that many of us feel we should be at, because there has been a gradual reduction in the belief of the sanctity of life. I was talking with Brad last night about Jack Kevorkian. You remember Jack Kevorkian, Dr. Death?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was from Michigan. And so, when I was growing up, that Kevorkian case was going on. he pretty much, popularized assisted suicide. A lot of people were very upset about that. They put him in prison. They basically tried him for murder. He didn't murder anybody. He didn't like flip a switch. He didn't like hit a button, nothing like that. I mean, he just essentially showed people how to end their lives and do it in the least painful way possible. And there was uproar all around the country, but at the same time, like, nobody cared about abortion. No, I mean, people cared, but I mean, it wasn't like the same level of outrage. And I think that certain people would suggest that, allowing for doctor assisted suicide is a step beyond that. I mean, it makes life even less sacred. I think that when the federal government or any government helps somebody to commit suicide simply because their life sucks because they can't get their shit together, I think that that's a bad idea. I mean, but if somebody has cancer and they're looking at an agonizing 6 months of chemotherapy that's going to do nothing, and they just want to they want to choose the way they want to go out, I think that that's acceptable, and I think that they can go ahead and do that. You already know what's coming, and I mean, if it's just going to be that painful that the rest of your life is going to be consumed with that. Like when my dad got cancer, he didn't do chemotherapy or radiation treatments. I mean, he was like, I don't want to prolong my painful life any more than I have to. And, I mean, how is that really any different than, choosing to do it another way? I mean, he chose to die as quickly as possible. And, yeah, I mean, a lot of people might disagree, but I mean, I think that there are circumstances under which it should be allowed. I mean, like, I have seen people die really, really awfully in a number of different ways, and it's just kind of fascinating to me that that they don't think about that anymore. That's not part of the argument anymore. But they want to kill a baby up until the moment it's born. That's just totally nuts to me.
Absolutely. And I think Republicans, especially even now, I mean, they really have not figured out how to talk about this issue or get their messaging right on this issue.
Mhm.
You know, they need to be nuanced, because I feel like when you get into the details, you win the war on this whole issue. I think most of the country does not want abortions up to the moment of birth or any kind of late term abortions. I don't think
No.
most of the country, you know, wants the radical on either side of this. I'm very pro life, but I
Mhm.
also I understand like the political nature of all this, and until Republicans get their messaging honed in on how to actually win this debate, they need to tread very lightly. You
Mhm.
already had the big win. You've already removed it as like a national billboard, like the home of the abortion, 99 billion served or whatever, the way it was when Roe was still in effect. So that's seriously though, that's a huge win, like for the country spiritually. I feel like, how do you expect anything good to happen to your republic when you're like the world's leading baby murderers? Like that's not good karma you're putting out there, especially when you celebrate it the way that we did for so long. So I feel like spiritually we took a huge step forward there. And I hope that more and more of the country becomes pro-life. I don't want anyone to, mistake my words here, but at the same time, like it's not worth throwing another election to the radical left over this issue because we don't know how to engage the people and actually win the argument.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm all for Donald Trump and the way he's going about this, and I hope everyone running for the House or the U.S. Senate takes note
Mhm.
and falls in on this, because you saw Lindsey Graham come out and say, I disagree with Donald Trump. We need to have a national limit. And I don't even disagree necessarily with his reasoning behind it, as far as
Lindsey Graham is a freaking sleeper agent, though. Okay.
that's what I was going to ask you
Yeah.
is, he comes out and he talks about how the baby can feel pain, I think after a certain number of weeks. I can't remember exactly how many. and for that reason, he thinks it should be illegal. And I don't disagree with what he's saying there, but it's not the federal government's place to do that. And I was going to ask you, do you think that he is trying to sabotage the Republicans in 2024 with this?
Yes,
Because I feel
absolutely.
Go
Yeah. So
ahead.
I mean, go back to the midterms. Like
Mhm.
right before the midterms, he was like, "We're going to outlaw abortion." He knew he didn't have the votes. You don't bring a bill like that to the floor if you know you don't have the votes. And of course, because people are going to the ballot box right after that, any Republican that has spoken about this issue or even hasn't spoken about it, they're just going to pin it on all Republicans. The Republicans want to take away a woman's right to choose. And that matters to a large portion of the population, especially when they don't have the information about this stuff. The Lindsey Graham, speaking truth about the moment at which a baby begins to feel pain. I mean, you've got brain activity, you've got the heart beating. Okay, if you look at a baby in utero, I mean, it begins to look like a baby very, very soon. And if you were looking at, a chicken developing in the egg, that's a chicken. You're looking at any sort of baby that's developing inside of its mother, and it's obvious what it is. Okay. And so, like, there is life. Like, at the moment of conception, the sperm enters the egg, and boom, there's a flash of light. Like, what is that? They have no idea. I would argue that it's the moment that the soul enters the body of that child, which is when it becomes a person. And yes, I think that Lindsey Graham is definitely doing this to sabotage and stop anybody who is truly on the side of truth, justice, and America first from getting into office. I mean, Lindsey Graham is obviously controlled, and somebody else, I think ZBM said this last night, that slavery, they outlawed slavery at the national level, but that was a states' rights issue. Well, in the Constitution, they had to specify that it is truly all men that are created equal. I mean, it's not that blacks are 3/4 of a man, because that's what it used to be. All right, they
Mhm.
had to specify that it was literally all people. So now the legal sticking point here is that they don't have a fetus or a developing baby legally defined as a person. Once that happens, then you can't just go killing those babies. The real irony here, and like, this is what I love to ask people who are in favor of abortion. If you've got a pregnant mother and she is robbed by a junkie on the street, and the junkie shoots her in the stomach and ends her pregnancy. Should that junkie be charged with the murder of that baby? And 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes without even thinking about it, because
Mhm.
they know intrinsically that that's a baby. All right.
Right.
But when you start going down this woman's right to choose, my body, my choice, I mean, like, that child came out of your body. I mean, should you be allowed to beat it to death once it comes out? I mean, probably not. So why are they allowing the baby to come out halfway and then sucking its brain out of its skull?
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Real fast, Rambo and friends, thank you for the Rumble rants. It's cheers, gents. Always grateful to catch you live when I can. We're grateful for you being here and the donation. Thank you so much. Yeah, so here's like, if Republicans really want to win this issue, you don't need to, I don't think you need to ban abortion outright on a federal level. Work on legislation that educates people or makes them think twice, right?
Mhm.
I love the idea of you have to show the woman a sonogram of the baby you're about to abort
Mhm.
before they have the abortion. You have to have some kind of amount of time between when you go in and when you have it done. Like, explain the process, show them the sonogram, and then there should be like a maybe, I don't know, a few days, some kind of cool down period where they really have to consider what they're doing after seeing an actual image of
I
what's
agree.
inside them. You should have, instead of funding Planned Parenthood for all this money, let's use that money for on education, on all the other options available, whether it's
Mhm.
adoption or what kind of support systems are out there for a mother who's scared or doesn't feel like they're ready. Like, really present every possible option and bit of information about what they're about to do
Hmm.
before, so that they just don't impulsively do this and not think about it.
I
And
agree.
I feel like it doesn't take away anyone's right to choose. That no one's dictating anything to anybody, but at the same time, I feel like if you did that and actually enforced it, you would see the abortion rate drop significantly, because these girls
Absolutely.
are manipulated emotionally, they're manipulated on every level, they're not really given the full story about what they're doing, and they're not really able to see the effect they're having. So I feel like if you do a few of these things and put them in place, they can't say you're being unfair to women, right? But at the
No.
same time, like I don't see things keeping up at the same pace as they are now. I feel like it would change the culture very quickly. And what
Yeah.
they say, politics are downstream from culture. You want a ban, start there. And I bet people will be begging for a ban on both sides of the aisle, or most people will be begging for some kind of ban or limitation um, within a few years of putting that stuff in place, Zach.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I was saying last night that, we didn't just get to this point where life doesn't matter to most people overnight. I mean, it took years of conditioning and years of programming. So it's going to take time to overcome that. And those are excellent ideas. I mean, there should definitely be a cooling off period. They should definitely show people a sonogram. They should look at that. That's the heartbeat. That's the heartbeat of the baby that you don't want. Okay, they should definitely show them videos of parents who are hoping to adopt. I mean, like, there are so many people out there who want a baby. They don't care if it's black, brown, disabled, or whatever. And I mean, they will pay for the medical care for the mother, while she's pregnant, while she's having the baby. And I think what most women are afraid of is that they're going to become attached to that baby. They're going to identify it as their child. And once they identify it as their child, well, then there's really no going back. Then there's a hole inside of you once that baby's gone. And if you do end up aborting it after you have that realization that you've created life and it's inside of you, then it's a lot more psychologically damaging than when you just go into a Planned Parenthood and they say, "Don't worry, honey, it's a bundle of cells. We're just going to get it right out. And then we're going to sell the corpse."
It's demonic, honestly.
Hmm.
It's absolutely demonic.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not just like the population control and eugenics aspect. What are they doing with those cells, Zach? We've seen the videos from Project Veritas of them selling the different fetus parts and whatnot. Like there's a whole, I feel like, black market around um, abortion, a very dark, demonic, evil side of it,
Yeah.
that an energetic side of it. You talked about harvesting energy. When we talked about CERN at the beginning of the show, you talked about human sacrifice. I mean, what is this other than massive human sacrifice of the most innocent among us? The unborn, the most defenseless. I mean, these are massive human sacrifice mills all over the country. Um, it's there's a whole real dark. Not that it's not dark on the surface, but even darker underbelly to all of this too, that I don't feel like gets talked about enough, or it hasn't been exposed fully yet. But these are all things that I think, if you really want to win this debate, if you really want to reach the other side on this, it's not by just telling them what they can and can't do. It's about exposing them to information, other options, and making them actually think about their actions before deciding to do it. And I think, like I said, I think you would maybe not be surprised, but you would see a huge reduction in the amount of people that go through with the procedure.
Yeah, there's like something like between 6 and 700,000 abortions that are performed every single year. And there is a huge, huge industry that's based around that, not just Planned Parenthood itself. But, obviously there is going to be some psychological fallout for some of those women who get abortions. That means they're going to require therapy. They're going to require pharmaceuticals. The pharmaceutical industry itself profits off of those fetuses. Those fetuses are used for experimentation, cultures, making anatomical models. Also, in like facial products and stuff. I mean, like there's a product called Cinemix that is in junk food. It's in like Frito-Lay products. It's in a whole bunch of stuff, and that's made from aborted fetuses. So, like, careful what you eat, guys, because you might just actually be eating aborted babies. And if you are, well, then you might as well be standing right alongside those Democrats that are clamoring to kill that baby before it gets into the mother's arms. And the ingredients that are in the products you're using too. I mean, it's all the same. I mean, if we are participating in that industry, then we are complicit in that industry. So I think it's something that a lot of people got to examine.
Yeah, that's a great point. Dangleberry says, "What about the fathers?" Ask me, what about the fathers? That's a good question, right? Because it takes two to make a child.
Hmm.
Uh, I feel like the fathers have no say
Yeah.
in the survival of that baby, right? Which is uh, it's a whole nother paradigm there, or a whole nother box of worms to get into. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like,
No.
what role should the father play during that stage? What rights should the father have in the decision making when it comes to this?
I mean, essentially, the father has no rights. I have heard of select cases where fathers like sued, got an injunction to stop a mother from having an abortion. But ultimately, really, the law is that they don't have any rights in this. They have absolutely zero say. If the mother wants an abortion and the father doesn't want her to get an abortion, then there's nothing they can do about it, really, in most places. But yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's not a decision that should just be come to from a single person. If there is going to be discussion of an abortion, then the mother and the father ought to be involved in that discussion. But I can't tell you, I've had a number of friends over the years whose girlfriends went out and unilaterally got an abortion, and it was not what the fathers wanted, and it destroyed them. I mean, it was something that psychologically was very, very damaging, and it haunted them forever. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not it's yeah, it's the short answer is you got no rights.
Yeah, you got no rights, and that's something I think should also be examined. If
Oh,
we're going to keep abortion in the conversation, or it's not something that is going to be banned outright, or not something we're going to push for right now for political reasons, I think that's another angle to it that you
yes.
could approach it from. Good, Zach, you were going to say
And
something.
yeah, I was going to say that the real irony here is that as a father you got no rights. She wants an abortion, she's going to get an abortion, but as a father you have like all of the responsibility. If she doesn't get an abortion and she wants a baby but you don't want a baby, then you are going to be on the hook for the next 18 years, and that's awful too. I mean, I know there are situations where people just give up parental rights and they say, I want nothing to do with this child or whatever. But yeah, more often than not, that doesn't actually work. I mean, the most like simplest explanation for this is that people should not just be engaging in casual sexual activity with people that they're not fully committed to and ready to have a baby with. I mean, like a baby is such a blessing. If you are, the act of creating a baby is something special. It's something holy, truly, at the end of the day. And people have also they have stopped thinking about sex as something special. I mean, we are inundated with it at all times. It's virtually accessible 24 hours a day in many, many different forms, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy for humanity, and it's just it's looked at as just a formality now. It's a procedure, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like, you want to get laid, you don't want to have a baby. Well, don't worry, we got a solution for that.
Yeah, just a society without consequences to your actions, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's that's how you get to kind of where we are right now. All right, we have a couple more sponsors, and then I can't believe it's already 4:51, and then we'll come back and have Zach tell us about what he's going to be doing on his 5 o'clock broadcast, because he's going live right after this show. So let's take care of a couple other wonderful sponsors. The next one is Beamish Metalworks. Celebrate love and family with a unique and personalized gift from Beamish. Whether it's for a wedding, anniversary, birthday, housewarming, or just because you're sure to please with a custom piece of metal art from Beamish Metalworks. Beamish crafts personalized, timeless masterpieces that will last a lifetime, and it's a perfect way to add a touch of elegance and personalization to any home. Honor your family's heritage with Beamish monogram. Showcase a family name anywhere inside or outside the home to add a touch of elegance and showcase your personal style. Choose from a variety of colors, sizes, and prices that's perfect for your space. With Beamish Metalworks, the possibilities are truly endless. Badlanders, don't miss out on owning your very own Badlands media sign and new Badlands license plate from Beamish Metalworks. Visit Beamish Metalworks today at badlandsmedia.tv/metal art and use promo code Badlands for free shipping. That's badlandsmedia.tv/metal art, promo code Badlands for that free shipping. And before we go to the final sponsor, I just want to show you guys that I just got this. I haven't had a chance to put it up yet, but I got my Badlands Media Beamish Metalworks sign right here. It's super cool, high quality. It's absolutely beautiful. I've got this and a bunch of other stuff that I'm going to start putting up on these walls here behind me. But I was really excited to get this. So if you wanted to see the actual quality and how beautiful this stuff is, check this out right here. Go check out the website, guys. Badlandsmedia.tv/metal art, and grab yourself something, because it's super high quality stuff. And then our final sponsor today is Energy Tech, and I got a little video here for you guys. So we'll be back in 60 seconds.
The Flex Tactical by Energy is the most rugged and ready portable power station on the market. Recently, Energy won contracts from the U.S. Army and Air Force to create a modular solar power station suitable for field and combat operations. We designed the Tactical for heavy-duty use in extreme environments. It is the most durable, versatile, portable power station ever built. Do you want the peace of mind that comes with knowing you have the most advanced, emergency-ready, durable, portable solar power solution? Do you want a power station that you know will be there in almost any condition? Order your Flex Tactical Edition today. Take charge of your safety and be ready for anything.
All right, we are back. Thank you guys again for continuing to support the sponsors of this broadcast. Again, those of you watching on pill.net, hit that red pill button and repost the show. If you're watching on Badlands Media on Rumble, please hit that thumbs up button for us. That's extremely helpful to keeping us on the air over there. So I appreciate you all doing that. Zach, you go live in about 5 minutes. What do you got going on today?
I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of different things. And to be honest with you, I don't have my notes in front of me. But trust me, it's going to be a good show. I put a lot of work in.
Awesome, man. Well, right. I'm not going to keep you any longer, so you have a minute to reset and get yourself situated before you go live. Thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely. Great time today. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button. It's free, and it really helps out. It lets Badlands know that this is a show that should stay on the air. So we'll see you guys soon. Peace.
All right, there he goes. Zach Payne of redpill78news.com, going live in 5 minutes. Zach's amazing, and I'm always so grateful to hang out with him on air. Shout out to Frankie Val. Bummer he couldn't hang out with us today, but hopefully we'll get him back in the mix next week on our next Taking It Back. And yeah, you can find Frankie Val at quitefrankly.tv. He'll be live tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And he goes from 7 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. Another absolutely fantastic show. here on this independent media environment, which let's face it, independent media is the way to go. It's raw, it's honest, it's just so much better than anything that's produced in the mainstream. Gumata Frank's daughter is sick. He thought he was gonna be able to join today. She was sick last week, and apparently she was throwing up all morning, and he wanted to make sure she was okay, so he wasn't able to join today. But like I said, hopefully next week it'll work out and he could be here. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're gonna go ahead and read some gold pill chats, and then that's gonna do it for today's broadcast. All right, let's see. We got due diligence with a tucking it back cookie. Thank you, Floyd. Appreciate it. Judy the Lady Pug with a cookie. Thank you. Polly 9363 with a phone. Very much appreciated. Thank you, Polly. Boys Blanc hooked us up with a cookie. And then Oil Man 94 gifted 1 month Bronze Tier subscription. That's super cool of you, Oil Man. Thank you so much. And I know everyone that was able to grab one greatly appreciates it. So thank you. For the generosity, brother. Ohio Kimmy, thank you for the cookie. And let's see who else is out there. Floyd with a says on my way to my last drill weekend ever. Oh man. Well, I hope it goes smoothly. I hope you have a good time, Floyd. And I don't know, is that congratulations for being done? Is that something you're looking forward to ending? I don't know 100% how to react there, but I feel like that's a good thing, right? Let's see. Oil Man gifted some more subscriptions here. I lost count of how many. Somewhere between 5 and 7. And thank you, Oil Man. I really appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much. Ohio Kimmy hooked us up with the can. Cheers, Kimmy. And then Floyd says cheers to another great show. Thank you so much, everybody. Again, I really, really appreciate all the love and support you toss our way. Again, red pill, repost, and thumbs up. If you're on Rumble, you have no idea how much that helps when you guys smash that thumbs up button, especially on the Badlands Media Rumble. Those of you on Pill, again, repost the show and hit that red pill button. Share the link wherever you're watching. And if you guys want to follow me, those of you guys on Badlands tuning in that don't normally hang out with me during the week, I go live from 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. My channel is 412 Productions. You can find me on Twitter at 412anon87. You can find me on Truth Social at 412. And yeah, just find 412 Productions on Pilled or on Rumble, DLive, CloudHub, Odyssey. And yeah, we stream to Twitter as well. Floyd said with a cookie, thank you. Says 27 years and 8 months serving. Well, thank you for your service, Floyd. And that's a long time. That's a long time. So hats off to you, my friend. And then Iberia's Silent Echo hooked us up with a cookie as well. And again, I really appreciate all the generosity. There's 1,900 gold pills in the pile right now. I really appreciate that. I'm going to hold over the scratch until tomorrow just to make it a little bit more worthwhile. But again, thank you guys so much for the support. Big thank you to Oil Man for gifting all those subscriptions. That was super cool. And I know how much, again, the fam appreciates that. All right, guys, that is it for today. Thank you guys so much. For Zach Payne of Red Pill 78 News.com. Shout out to Frankie Val of the Quite Frankly Show. My name is Adel Nero, and this has been Taking It Back, a 412 production syndicated by our very good friends over on Badlands Media. You guys have an awesome rest of your Thursday. Come hang out with me tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. We wrap up the week on 412 Productions. Bye, everybody.